Elder Uchtdorf has said that the desire to create is one of the basic yearnings of the human soul. It doesn't matter your education, your background, your talent, or your ability. We all have an inherent desire to create something that has not existed before. I wanted to share with you what I do to fulfill that inherent yearning in my soul to create. I love to sew, and I started sewing when I was young. I started at first by making clothing for my Barbie dolls, and much to my mother's chagrin, at one point tried to make a halter top for myself. It was not a good choice. When I was 12, my grandmother started teaching me to sew. She would take me to her home for a week at a time during the summer, and I would spend the week there and work on projects. And I started out learning to sew clothing, and I did that for many, many years. I have since, in the last few years, discovered quilting, another thing that I love and have a passion for. And it is this that I wanted to share with you today. When you first look at a quilt, the overall look of a quilt can be daunting, and you think, I can't do that. That's too much. But as with many things in life, a quilt is actually done step by step, and it is done by putting together different squares. And when they put together, you have a gestalt effect where the parts create something altogether unique. So what we are going to do is a log cabin quilt. And a log cabin quilt is made with entirely 2.5-inch strips of fabric. When you first start with a quilt, you're going to go and decide your color theme. And you can go to the fabric store and you can go through and pull all the different bolts of fabric and buy it and come home and cut all your strips of fabric. Or there are many kits out there that you can use. The strips that we are using today come from a kit called a jelly roll, and it has about 42 different 2.5-inch strips cut, and they're all in color coordinating fabrics. So that kind of work is done for you. The other thing I found that we are using today is I have these 5-inch squares. So I've taken one of these and I've cut it into fourths so that we start with a 2.5-inch square. We're going to take our square and then we're going to just start sewing from our 2.5-inch strip. We're going to cut that, take that, cut it, and then we're going to cut and sew another piece at the bottom. Give you an idea of what that looks like. The next step is it looks like this. So there's our first square and our next strip. We're going to pick another color, and then we're going to sew a strip here and one here at the bottom. We're going to change colors again and sew a strip here and a strip here. I'm going to keep going around changing colors with every 2 sides so that you end up with a square that looks something like this. Now, how many squares you make depends upon the size of the quilt that you want to make. If you want to make a doll quilt, 2 squares might suffice. If you want to make a baby quilt, you might need 9 squares. If you want to make a throw that goes on the back of your couch, you might want 16 squares. Whatever you have decided. When you create all your squares and you have them done, you're going to take them and you're going to lay them out on the floor and move them around and look for an overall design for the quilt top. And when you come up with what you like, you're going to sew your squares together. And once those are sewn together, you have a quilt top. The next step, you're going to take your quilt top and you're going to put batting, fluffy stuff, underneath that. And underneath that, your third layer is going to be a backing. And from there, you're going to take and sew those 3 layers together. And that's your actual quilting of a quilt. Now, you can do that by hand on those old quilt racks that you'll find in any Relief Society closet somewhere. You can take it to your sewing machine and you can sew those together. Or you can go to your local fabric store and ask the phone number of somebody who owns one of those really fancy quilting machines, and you can pay them to quilt the quilt for you. And I know a lot of people who do that. After you get your quilt quilted, if you sent it away to somebody, they're going to give it back to you, and you just have to finish the edges. So just put an edge on the end of your quilt, and done. You've come up with a wonderful quilt. I would like to finish by, again, quilting. How about we quote Elder Uchtdorf, who said, Um, whatever you create doesn't have to be perfect, and don't let the fear of failure stop you. So I hope that you have learned and have a desire now to try something new and to create. Thank you.